Good night, guys. Tonight we are going live with an American creative producer, business startup, mentor, and consultant from Boston. And we're talking about business development strategies. Welcome to Creative Monday Discussion. I am your host, Mervin Budram, and we are creatives transforming lives. And welcome again back to Creative Monday Discussion. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm really excited about tonight's edition. We are going to talk about business. Actually, for this entire month of October, if you haven't realized it yet, we are talking about business. Last week, we have had some amazing female entrepreneurs with us sharing their business, what they do, their backstory. And if you missed that episode, I want to encourage you to go to my website, mervinbudram.com, where you can watch last week's episode. But tonight, I am excited to have my guest with you guys. Let me just bring him in one time. I just want to welcome a good friend of mine, William Neidlinger. I call him Bill. And so I just want to welcome Bill to Creative Monday Discussion segment tonight. Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
Hi, Merv. Doing great, and thank you for having me. It's nice to be here virtually.
Virtually. We're in the virtual era more than ever now, right, Bill?
Exactly. It's very important to embrace things like this to still be connected and still have great, meaningful conversations.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Bill and I kind of go way back, all the way back to 2018, actually. I did a program while Young Leaders of the America Initiative, where I was in Boston for 5 weeks, and I actually worked very closely with Bill in their company at the time. And I think what sparked was a friendship, a partnership. We've had the opportunity of doing some very fun things together in the business space. And so Bill is no stranger to Belize. He was here with us a couple last year. Was it last year? Early last year,
Yeah.
we launched Innovate Belize Summit for those who was a part of that. So again, Bill is not a stranger to Belize. He's very aware of what's going on in our culture, but also coming from an outside perspective in Boston. So Bill, let's just hop in. I think there's so much
Sure,
for us
yeah.
to kind of talk about. We were talking earlier on today. We're in a time where everyone is trying to figure out what we'll do to survive. We're in this COVID time, this pandemic time, and there's so many new business startups have popped
Yeah.
up. So many new innovations have popped up, and it's great. It's great to see what's going on. But Bill, what would you say? What would you have to say in light of this time we're in and all the different creative initiatives that's coming up? What's your perspective on what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big question, and this is a big question that everyone is kind of tackling with now. Some of it, we're right in the midst of it. It's very close to our face. So having some perspective on it, you just have to be very, aware of what's going on. Um, you know, the global pandemic, be it there, be it here, everything from businesses to personal lives have been affected due to be it economic pressures or do it your own, on the macro, a smaller scale, your own business. So especially small business owners, where they don't have scale or they may not have big big capital to keep them floating, they've had to really pivot and be very creative about how they continue to connect to their customers, serve them, be there for them, and still do their business, whatever it might be. We kind of joked right away about, here we are virtually, haha, technology. But technology has been the big thing that people have finally embraced in big ways. I've done a lot of work with one startup, for example, that focuses on last mile delivery and logistics for companies, turning it to a digital experience. So, one, it's safer that way, that you can, get things delivered to where you are through ordering on your phone, maybe purchasing online, things like that. Um, that's a new way of doing business. It's a new way of doing things. So smaller stores where where you depend upon people coming in, and it may not be safe. We've had to been very innovative about it. I know a lot of shopkeepers and businesses in Belize being very clever about it, using Facebook,
Yeah.
using WhatsApp, sorry, to buy and sell and to do business. And
Yeah.
so it's been a big challenge. So I mean, this is a big topic, and I think we can really dive into it a bit about what do you do, you know, but a lot of it is like, well, it depends. Is the honest answer is
Yeah.
depending on what your problem is, but I think these challenges have forced innovation or forced a lot of businesses to
Yeah.
embrace innovation, whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's interesting, Bill, because I remember when we did Innovate Belize, part of our big pitch was like looking into 2025, looking into the future and bringing the
Yeah,
future now, and kind of how do you align yourself? Who would have thought 2020 would have brought us the current reality that we're having, where everyone is having to innovate, everyone is having to pivot, everyone is having to kind of figure out, okay, how do I keep moving forward, keep scaling my business, maybe even start up a new business venture, just to kind of survive in this time. And how do I do that and kind of move things forward, right? And so I know it's definitely a big question on the hearts of so many people in this time. I think one of the things you highlighted just now was the whole thing of innovation. And I think when we did the summit, we said on innovation starts with conversation, communication, and conversation. We cannot have innovation without conversation. And in this time, I think a lot of people are now having those conversations on the ground level. So let's talk a little bit about that.
sure.
What are some of the things that strategies or tools that businesses can use to better be in touch with their clients, to better be in touch with the needs on the ground in this time? What have you experienced on your end?
Sure. And that's a good question. I think, one of the things as a shop or as a store or just, let's say you're a consultant or a business owner, the things that you want to do is how do I continue doing what I do? How
Yeah.
do I still stay connected? I think as I look back, I think in February and March, when lockdowns and, there was the outbreak of the pandemic, there was a lot of questions. People didn't know what was going on, what was true, how dangerous, how not dangerous, whatever. But what was great, which is I think is a key to kind of what I'm about to get to, is that the human spirit and people's natural compassion was to reach out, right?
Yeah. Yes, I
I was
agree.
having video chats with tons of people, people I've done work with in the past, on a professional level, people in my professional network, and then also, of course, friends in various circles and family, and connecting on video chat and getting in touch. And when you think about it, if you step back for a bit, a lot of communications and important communications marketing and that businesses do is about being in touch, is about connecting with your customer,
Yeah.
and it's about being useful and also not just shoving your brand, your solution, whatever
Yeah.
in the face, but just being there.
Yeah.
One of the early conversations I had was some former colleagues and some still friends of mine who are based in London, and we got in touch, and they were very scared.
Yeah.
They're in events business, a global events business, and they're like, if we can't have events,
Yeah.
um, you know,
What do we do?
well, what do we do? Do
Yeah.
we have to close up shop and send everyone home? But this is where innovation happened, where they said, how can they still provide their expertise? How can they still create conversation and connect? But what was really great is that, reaching out to them and talking to them and that check-in, and in our conversation, they said, you know what, a year from now, whoever's left still standing, this kind of sounds a little dire, but
Yeah.
but it's honest, like whoever's still around and still connected are going to be the people that go to.
Yeah.
So if you're there, if how many businesses reached out to you? Like, what, even if they were toilet paper, maybe that's a
Yeah.
wrong example because everyone needed toilet paper for some reason,
I was trying to wrap my
right?
mind around, okay, what's the
Yeah.
toilet paper thing? Yeah.
I think everyone needed something safe. So what's safer
Yeah.
than getting some Charmin and squeezing hard? But with it is the idea of like random businesses. Maybe you bought a shirt from. We're doing the "I hope this finds you well" letter,
Yeah.
which was really great. I think that's very important. As much as I think there was oversaturation at one point, but it's really important to say, "Hey, we're here. If there's something you need, this is what we're doing for our own team." And it's a great time to lean in. And even if you can't do business, this is the time to do all those things you wanted to do. So
Yeah.
one of the best things you can do is any organization, be it a financial organization, a small mom and pop shop, or whatever, is to communicate your values. Values is a thing that anyone can connect to. And values doesn't have to be like, I value this, but your values is that emotion of human part of your brand that reaches out. And so I think people communicating how they're keeping their staff safe, how they're innovating their own product or solution to keep people safe, to say that they're thoughtful of what's going on, and they're aware. And I think that's how to be clever. That's how to say, hey, we're here, we're thoughtful, we value your safety, we value you as a client, we value the people that work for us. So I think communicating your values is a great way to sell more than just a product. And it's to have, long-term clients. It's how to have long-term customers. And those are people that are going to root for you and want to do business, right?
Yeah, Bill, I want to draw out a point that you made earlier, and I took note of it. But simply being there tonight, we're talking for those who just tune in. I just want to welcome you again to Creative Monday Discussion, and I also want to let you know I want to welcome our guests on television. We are live on TNC as well, so I just want to say welcome to our TNC guests. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're here every Monday, right here on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and also on TNC. But we're talking about business strategies, business development, and one of the things that Bill mentioned earlier that I want to take the opportunity to pull out is simply being there. So especially in a time like this, in a crisis time, how do you as a entrepreneur, a business owner, what kind of thought process do you need to have in your mind? And one of them needs to be, hey, I need to be there. I need to be there for my clients. I need to be there for our staff. I need to be there for our team. I need to let them know, hey, we are here and we are here to serve you. We are here to just make you know that we're here to assist you in your needs. And Bill, I've recently had an experience with it's a client of ours, but the client was sharing with us, my company Task Belize was sharing, it says, working with you guys have removed the anxiety feel. And that meant a lot to me, because it was good to know that my client knew that it wasn't just we're doing this great work and quality work, but we were there for them, for what they were feeling and going through, and alleviating some of that pressure that this time is bringing, right? And so I want to say to any business
What's
owner,
that great quote? I can't remember if it's like Maya Angelou or something, where it's people will remember not what you did for them in the long term, it's how you make them feel.
How you make them feel, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so what are the feelings? What are you creating? What emotions are you creating for your client? What feel are you creating with your brand? And
so this time of anxiety, right? How do you help alleviate that? Being a good for your clients, being a good consultant, being a good shop, whatever business you are, is also about making sure they don't worry. So part of that is that customer experience. How do you, in a time where that sort of personal touch is really important, that's your values, that's keeping people in that virtuous cycle and funnel of what you want them to do to be to be your client or whatnot. It's making them not worry. I remember at one point I had a mentor who said, whatever you do for people here in this organization, just make sure you don't make anyone worried. because people remember that, right? And
Yeah.
you don't want to worry people. You want to make sure you're buttoned up and you do it. But
Yeah.
but that also translates very well to as a business.
Yeah.
You know, don't make people worried. People remember when you're there for them, and I think that's a really great story about how, you know, months from now, years from now, people are going to remember, you know, how they felt and what you were
Yeah.
able to do as well. You know.
Yeah. So in light of going the extra mile, I'm gonna share another story, and then from there, Bill can hop in and give his thoughts on that. But you know, when in this time when we're dealing with a lot of clients, we're dealing with a lot, like Bill says, how do you not cause anxiety? How do you connect in with your clients? You know, a few years back, this is like way a few years back, and again, I'm sharing this story to kind of bring out the point of development strategies, things to do, and kind of being there for your client. We had a client who had a project they needed to get done, and they had a deadline they needed to meet. And in order to meet that deadline, we had to go the extra mile. And when I say go the extra mile, I meant go the extra mile. It meant working, literally working into the weekend, having them come to our house, sleep on our couch, bring all the computers from the office into the house, set up in the living room a workstation that they could be there, and then from there, my wife got up in the, like, this is like 2 in the morning, wake up and like making food and
Wow.
lunch, I mean, the food, not lunch, sorry, but breakfast and snacks and stuff, and really catering to them so that we can meet their Monday deadline. You know, that was about maybe 8 years ago. You know, in this
Sure.
pandemic, they've been one of my faithful clients. They've been coming back to us year after year. They've been coming back to us, and so I'm drawing that out to say, here's a tip for you in this time. This is not the time to start to get really locked down on, well, these are my policies, and like be exact. And this is the time to go the extra mile. This is a time that
Exactly.
you need to like just totally be flexible with your clients, meet them where they're at, and let's talk, let's dialogue. How can I alleviate whatever stress you're feeling, right? And so yeah, so that's a story I wanted to kind of draw out for you guys in this time that you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I grow my business? How do I scale my business? This is time to kind of go the extra mile, and you know, be there for your client in that sense.
And, you know, I mean, this year has been tough because, I mean, one of the big things you say is, you know, there's a bunch of different bullets that, you know, as a business, as an entrepreneur, whatever, going into the year, you make a plan, you have maybe metrics, there's things you're planning to do, and then that gets upended.
Yeah,
So one of the big things is like, you know, without a plan and without a roadmap, how do you measure and how do you achieve success? So
yeah,
when that roadmap gets upended, it's trying to find a new definition of success, or still trying to find your way. Now, when your plan gets completely sideswiped, as it did everyone's, you know, how do you either get back on track, or how do you create a new plan? And it's
yeah,
being cognizant of that, because saying, okay, well, this is where we're going. We're not going that way. It's all over. No, it's not. It's about being flexible. It's bending without breaking. And I think
yeah,
that's one of the biggest things about, you know, I call it, it's a very kind of scientific method of kind of approach, in a way that if you're doing an experiment and it doesn't work out, it's not that it failed. It means you learn. I
yeah,
believe there was one of the things we discussed. I remember on the stage in Innovate Believe. I think it was a bit of a blur, but one of the things we talked about, and there's been a couple of great books about this, is about fail fast.
yeah,
But I never like the word like fail, because it's not sure. I mean, there's failure sounds like it's very final. It's like
yeah.
that's it. It's learn. It's learn fast.
Learn fast. I like that.
I think too, it's one of those things that, you know, like, be it a project or whatever, if it didn't hit the mark, you take a pause and you say, okay, what went well, what went wrong. So failing fast means learning fast. You
Yeah,
either succeed or learn, not succeed or fail.
yeah,
And those learning things only prepare you for the future.
yeah,
Now, so I mean, we talked a bit about, so there we are, you know, have a plan and recheck it and get back into it. So now's a point that we're 9, 10 months, whatever, into this year. and into the pandemic. I know it's October. I'm pretty certain of that. So that's 10 months. But we're at a point now where people, you've gotten to see a bit of how things have happened, so you can start to plan a bit more. Though there are some unknown things. I think of the restaurant industry here in North America that is very dependent on the weather, and especially I'm in the Boston area. So a lot of restaurants have moved basically all their seating and eating being outside. They've rented part of the street in the city from the city, and they built out sort of planks and outside areas where people can be distant, still order and eat. And that kind of sounds weird, but that's innovation. So I think of small businesses, especially be it let's say like a small restaurant or coffee shop or something. How do you still be able to move your product, serve people, make them happy, and then still be safe and still practice whatever guidelines that the state, the city, the country might give you to ensure public safety and public good. So it's things like that. So now as we look to the future and we look, what's going to happen, there's still a lot of unknown, but this is the point of, okay, bending without breaking, very important. And then also still staying in contact. Let's say you did write and have some beautiful communication, a video or whatever on your channels, or doing some email marketing to your customers, your past customers. Have you written them anything since that's just as compassionate?
The maintenance, the consistency, showing up. That's good. So we're gonna take a little break right now, but I just wanna segue in that you gotta show up. You gotta daily show up, and Bill, as you were talking earlier, one of the things we had to do earlier this year, not knowing what the year would pan out to be, was sit and do a strategic plan, to sit down and say, okay, what's our vision? What's our mission? What are we about? What are our core values? And last week, if you guys took note of what was Asika from St. Martin, she was talking about this last week. She was saying that, hey, when COVID came, she had to look at her vision, her values, and her core, and say, how can I still accomplish this in this time? And her vision, her values, her mission spoke into what action she needed to take. And she pivoted and did an ebook. She wanted to do all these different things, but she was able to produce an ebook in this time. But that came out of her being very clear on your vision, being very clear about what you're about. And so this is key, guys, because right now everything is in survival mode. So many different business, so many entrepreneurs are stepping into this space and things are popping up. But you cannot stay in survival mode forever. You need to kick into a plan. You need to kick into strategy. And being clear about what you're about is so critical for growth. It's so critical for development, right? And so we'll go more into that as we come back. We're going to take a quick break. I just want to thank our sponsors, Taspili's Coaching with Melanie, the Art Shack, Formosa Cafe, TNC, Bodram Solutions. We just want to take a quick little break just for our sponsorship, those who are supporting us.
Over the next few moments, I want to challenge you to think outside of the box, because the box you're in is too small for the world you have.
Next level of results requires the next level of thinking.
The fundamental goal of leadership is not just to get better yourself, but to make others better.
Don't let insecurity allow you to neglect the gift that God's given you.
When there's difficulty, we are called to go first.
We need you as a leader much longer than you are set up to last right now.
So I think that's a test of longevity, is how well you navigate change.
Because our world needs confident, humble, bold, and integrity-fused leadership.
Let's lead not for likes tonight, but let's lead for a legacy tomorrow. Let's give the next generation a story to tell.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
All right, and we are back, and I just want to welcome you guys again, and thank you for tuning in. I'm here talking with Bill. I'm just gonna call him Bill. Just
Bill is
easy for
fine.
me. Yeah, I'm here talking with Bill from Boston, and we're talking about business development, just strategies, growth strategies as well, and just what's happening in this time entrepreneurial space. If you have a question, if you have a comment, you want to join this conversation and participate, use our comment section. If you want to ask us anything specific in growing your business and developing your business, maybe a strategy, a tip, or whatever, we are here to assist you in that, and we want to talk. We want to give you that input. So you use the comment section and let us know even where you're tuned in from, and let us know what you think about what we're talking about tonight. So Bill, before we went off, we were talking just about what's going on in this time. Any thoughts on your end?
Sure.
Like
yeah.
blanket question, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you have some of I think where we were going. It's very easy to speak in a lot of generalities about business and what you need to do. The good thing is about being virtual everywhere is this is a chance for you to really get on some digital platforms that maybe you haven't been on before. Depending on your industry, depending on your target market, depending on your customers, use the different communication channels that are out there. Beyond making sure that you have a good digital storefront, maybe a good Shopify site, maybe a good website, it's making sure you're present and engaged on the social media channels that matter to your customers.
Yeah.
It's always a thing, we mentioned about making sure you're there for your customers, connecting with them. So understanding where they are, where they live digitally is very important. And making sure you put constant, appropriate communication on those channels. I think, any professional should have a well-done LinkedIn site, and they should be engaging with others, other colleagues, other thought leaders, or at least, understanding what the conversation is out there, even if you don't want to be a part of it. It's a great place that if you're a business that is more, that's less service and more, let's say, consultation or software or something like that, you want to look at, more of a professional site like LinkedIn to help, get that target market there. But don't forget, depending, is it Twitter where you want to engage with your audience? Is it Instagram because you have lovely products? Let's say your food store or something like that. Are you showing the beautiful craftsmanship of your chefs that are so delicious? You want people to say, yes, I want to order this digitally and come by and pick it up or whatever, or showing things like that and being very visual, as we know, as fans of visual creative communications, both you and I, making sure that you have that and use those tools to show where you are, how you're doing business. The big thing about, the marketing funnel is about consideration. And so that top of the funnel is making new people consider you and making sure you're buttoned up for it and that you're appropriate. And that you're consistent with what you're doing. And when you do get customers, make sure you stay in touch. And it doesn't have to be the personal stuff. Like I said before, yes, you had a personal message maybe when everything went south or north or whichever way where things go bad. I'm being cognizant that you're in Central America, Merv. So north may be where things go awful. But understanding and staying in touch, using maybe like some sort of CRM to stay in touch with your customers, understand where you are and you're in the relationship. Also, maybe at one point you took a look at your competition and saw what they were doing, how they designed their stuff, how they communicate. Don't be afraid to, especially right now, see what they're doing. Or if you know other brands that are out there that are doing it very well, consider what's appropriate for you. Just don't do what everyone else is doing. you don't want to see of sameness, but you want to do what's right, and that's also true to your values.
Yeah.
So I think that's very, very important to make sure you're still doing that. Now more than ever, depending on the type of business, a customer loyalty, be it discount. Let's say you have a clothing store or even food or coffee or whatever it might be, loyalty programs, and keeping people engaged and saying, yes, it's worth your time and you'll get it's worth my value to discount you something to keep you, especially right now. And I think staying abreast and like identifying what the new opportunities might be out there is really important. I think now people are who have for so long may have resisted some digital communications, have resisted an app, things like that maybe. Now is a chance to really embrace these new ideas. I know if you're on my Twitter, which is at BILVOX, I don't tweet much. Sometimes I go on there and I'm just a silent scroller. But there was something I shared, who was the person in your business that put forth the digital transformation? Was it your CIO, CMO, CEO, COVID? And haha. But it's true. Out of necessity breeds innovation. So that was one of the things. So those new opportunities, embrace the solutions out there, and also be very careful, because I think there's many organizations that have embraced the first kind of digital solution out there, and some of them have kind of gotten hosed on the deal, if you will.
Yeah.
I think here in the U.S., there's a lot of last mile delivery apps, be it for food, all sorts of other things, grocery, things like this. And after time, it's become aware where the fees are, where the hidden fees, where these restaurants that are already struggling, where maybe beforehand, maybe 80% of their business was in the restaurant and 20% was takeout or less. Now they've had to shift that completely, or be totally takeout. So there's a lot of opportunity for those companies who've been taking a lot of fees off there, and it has been almost unsustainable for those restaurants. So that's an example. What I'm hearing,
Bill, what I was going to say though, in that, the importance of doing your homework and doing research. There's so many solutions, because we need solutions. There's a lot of solutions coming out right now, but you got to take the time to do your homework and find out what's going to work for me, what's going to work for my brand, what's going to work for my values, what's going to work for our company, and where are we at, and being okay to say, hey, I'm not ready for the 3 steps. I just need the next step, and so I think we're going to do this because we only need this step. We don't need all of what you're offering, and it's okay. It's okay to do that, especially in this time.
So if you think of, and that's a really good point, because right now, think about your customer experience. It's probably very different than what it was 1 year ago. So how can you make sure it's better or improve it? So that's one of those things, because, to harp on a little bit of what we said earlier, it's, how do they feel? How do they feel about the experience? The brand experience, maybe let's say you have a shop where it used to, the brand experience began as they stepped their first foot into the door and then ended when they left. The brand experience now happens nowhere near or in your store, perhaps.
It's all digital.
So how are you going to maintain a good experience? How is your brand, does your brand reflect that? And by brand, I mean every single thing that person interacts with your business. Is it, how it looks, how you talk, how do you communicate? Are you, offering things in email? Do you have an email list that you're staying in touch with them about? Are you making it easy for them to know that you're still there, that your business is open, that you still have product? So I think those are some things, and I've also seen a couple of businesses in the spirit of, hey, we're all in this together, is strategic partnerships. Where you as a business can reach out to other businesses to say, hey, we're in this. I want to offer your folks a discount, or how can we work together on something?
Yeah.
That's also something to think about.
Yeah. One of the things, Bill, I've been noticing, and I know we've been talking a lot about the digital, we're talking a lot about maybe even companies that are in the media digital space. But here in Belize, just literally driving home has changed. Once it was a quiet drive. The street was, you see your occasional runner on the road, bikers, exercise. But now it's kind of there's so many vendors set up on the road, selling food, selling some products. Like as I mentioned, everyone is doing what they can to survive in this time. So many startups, and they're starting up on the vendors on the road, and it's actually exciting watching so many businesses going for it and the consistency in it. But what I wanted to ask and get your thoughts on this: how do you? Because I think this is a perfect time for this question. How do you go from being out of your bedroom to having grow your business? Like, how do you go from, right now we're selling donuts on the side of the road, but kind of like hopefully in a few years we're in a store, we're selling, we're doing online, we're shipping. Like, how do you scale? How do you go from make that step? What are some of the things you need to be thinking about in terms of transitioning from this initial spark startup, but moving beyond that?
Exactly. I mean, that's actually a massive question, or maybe the answers are pretty massive. I mean, one of those things that I always tell you is, it depends.
Yeah.
Is always the most honest answer you can ever give.
Yeah.
I think if you ever go into something and you think you have the answer, good, but usually saying it depends is on. I think it depends on the business. I think it depends on their goals. Like, remember I said that, as you start a business, what are your goals, and how do you know to achieve it? Because I think if you have goals, you can track them. You can understand, I sold, 20 packages of donuts yesterday. By the end of next week, I want to sell more. How do I do that? Do I have more stands? Do I have a digital presence that are like, hey, I'm on the Strand? Do I make it easier for people to buy from me? I think one of the things that maybe we've talked about this before is, I think there are digital payments in Belize, but something like a cashless system can really help now when people are worried about touching something that typically is the most dirty thing in your pocket. So how do you go to a cashless system? How does your, especially, how do you then track that? If you have to worry about, one of the things we talked about when I was there in Belize about some of the tax systems and accounting systems can be very cumbersome to small businesses. And where's that point where you have to start to worry about, oh, geez, how much is, kind of, below the table, as we call it, or under the table, off the books, and how, when is the point that, excuse me, that you're going to make it real, that you're going to be proper about it. So having that long-term plan, and then also being very measured about things and being very careful. It sounds all very good, but also the money you make, you want to invest back in the business one way or another. Yeah. So let's say you do have a stand that one of these pop-up stands, and you putting aside, let's say you fix 15 to 20% to, if one day you want to have a brick and mortar store, start doing that, start saving it, start understanding what that is. I know, I don't want to be an advert, but, we made friends in Beltrade and what was the
SBDC?
SBDC, a lot of really great organizations that have very consultative individuals who can help you work on your business plan. And also too, let's say you do have a business plan and it's rubbish. There's something powerful about acknowledging this might not work out and to walk away. There's not the fail or succeed thing. It's you learned, like, you know what, we're not going to get there. I think there was a podcast idea I want to have someday, and maybe we can do it. Called I was throwing around the recovering entrepreneur. Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who want to start small businesses. It doesn't always go. It doesn't always go big. So I think I'm kind of skirting a bit of, I know your original question here about how do people plan for it. I think right now, incremental improvement. We don't think, if you listen to the experts, for mass production, for getting everywhere a vaccine where may not be till a year till it gets to all of us. So for the next year, you have an ability to grow something small and smartly, and then start thinking about when you get to a point. Now is not the time to have some amazing $10,000 video production for your donut stand, or that you have out of your back of your car. Now's the time to start to be clever about it, though. Why not have a shop, and why not feature the idea that you're out there, you're standing on the, you have those things, and then have your digital presence reflect the kind of the gumption you have to the plucky gumption, to use those terms, to be out there and making a go of it. And then, if you are saving, if you are moving to something, if those business, if the business plan looks good, there was a thing that's very interesting. I know in the US, and then, and I think it maybe started in LA. I'm probably wrong about this, but it was a food truck movement, and it's huge now, where amazing chefs and a great, they have a food truck where they're able to go anywhere and take like a pop-up restaurant to you. And eventually they got to a point where, there's a good handful of them that did so well that they ended up getting brick and mortar stores. So something to consider of these, plucky upstart donut shops that you have and believe.
Well, Billy, we were talking earlier, and I think this is the perfect time to bring this question, but when is it the right time and when is it not the right time? We were talking about entrepreneurship and innovation and starting new things, and when is the right time? Because being an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver, you're starting up stuff, and we are in a pandemic time. And how do you gauge when is the right time and when is not the right time to press? And I love what you said earlier, take incremental steps. I think that's really key, because, we want to save the world. Both of us were very passionate about what we do.
We've had
we want to go out there and
save the world. I grew up with Bono as my hero. He's like out there, saving the world.
But now is the time, to be very strategic, to set goals, to measurable goals, and how will we accomplish those goals, right? And so kind of like, when is the right time, and kind of having some sort of accountability system in place for yourself and for your business, some check and balance of, okay, let's pace ourselves, let's take incremental steps, and right now in this time, like, what is the steps that we are taking,
Yeah, I think there's something, and actually, I don't, if we had a conversation, I think earlier in the year. I think the idea of, I think both you and I, new ideas are very exciting to us. And we want to get our hands in it, right? Like, it's like, oh, that's great. Yes, I want to be a part of that. Yes. I think that's our nature of like the big, so like when we were kind of ideating the innovate, believe, and talking about it, I think we had a number of other ideas of things we wanted to do, and they were all very delicious ideas that but I think when we step back, we were like, okay, well, what, let's take a step back, let's take a step back, like and I think especially right now, taking a step back and identifying, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business, what is your core business? What is the core thing that people keep going to you for? Don't throw that out the window. that might be something that, even if it's not your bliss or something you want to do right now, I think that focusing on that and doing that core will help you weather storms more.
Yeah.
They always say, like, have a backup plan, but it's more than that. I think there's something that I do mentorship with startups who, some are very early, and a lot of times I talk about their brand, their communication, their messaging, things like that, their design. But I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give you my spiel.
Yeah.
And this is my like small business spiel. But one of the things I think is a great thing to think about is the first iPod. Okay, the first iPod did one thing, and it did it so well.
Yeah.
It played music. It was a digital music library, and and it was mobile, and you could fit hundreds of songs on it, and it did it really in like 3 clicks. You could be playing a song.
Yeah.
And that was great usability, and it did that one thing so well. And then eventually, it did it so well that it became much more complicated, and then apps, and now it's your iPhone, and so no one has an iPod anymore. I still have my old iPod, and it's great because it does one thing, and it has some really great mixes from 2004 on it. But the idea of being an iPod, do one thing and do it really well, it's very important. And I think it's so easy to have scope creep. It's so easy to do the next shiny thing.
Yeah.
I've worked with people who are 90% ideas, maybe 10% execution. And I think it's really important. Those ideas are fantastic, but execution and focusing on that core thing that you want to do and do well, to then going back to your long-term plan. Let's say this is the business I have now, but eventually I want it to be this. Is how you're going to incrementally get there. Is focus on that iPod now, and then eventually you're going to be an iPhone and take over the world.
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to thank everyone who's tuned in. Again, we're talking about business development and growth strategies. I'm with Bill, William Neidlinger. Bill, I got to master your last name, man. I really got to
I can't even say it.
There you go. But yeah, we're here. We've been talking for the last 45 minutes just about different strategies, different things. And I'm very excited in these times, Bill, because I feel like it's, even for me more now than ever, like I have an opportunity to be in touch on the ground with my clients. There's big corporations and big companies, and they're so sometimes distant from what's really going on the ground. And I just want to say to you, if you're a small business, if you're an entrepreneur in this time, you have an opportunity to really connect into the heart and the core of what's going on with your customers. You have an opportunity to really know what's going on the ground, and then shape the direction of where things are going. There's so much innovation sparking right now. I'm like, people are now on Facebook doing live on selling their clothes on live, like in Belize, like, so they're walking and they're modeling and they're showing their clothes. Like, people are just taking advantage of these tools that's there. And so I want to say, don't be afraid to utilize and to take advantage of the tools, and then push the boundaries of it. Like, not because it's always been used this way means that you got to use it this way. It's you got to innovate in this time. So it's very exciting. To me, it's an exciting time that we are living in. I am sad for the many lost, those who are sick. Our heart goes out to them, and we wanna see a solution for that as quick as possible. And the flip side of what's happening is people are really diving in, really pulling out some really cool, innovative ideas, right? I also want to draw out the point of being clear on your vision, being clear on your why. What are you doing? Why are you in business? I think we were talking earlier about how do we go from the bedroom to the office space, to the bigger office space. And it's being very clear on your goals, and being clear on your vision, being clear on your why, and then how will you get there, and taking those incremental steps along the way.
Yeah. And if you're building something, so especially in the startup, the entrepreneur, the small business, let's say you're raising capital or you're looking for partners or investors, people are taking meetings just because it's tough economically. Still business is happening, which is great. But I know a lot of, for a startup I've been doing some work with, I've had tons of VC meetings, tons of investor meetings, where, and even probably getting in front of more people than normally I would.
Yeah.
Of course, the weird thing is being virtual and doing, a pitch, but being able to communicate and pitch. A lot of times when you're doing business, there's a bit of an energy thing where you read someone, you're in the same room, you understand body language, things like that. This is a time where you can't really do that. So really being sure that you can focus and communicate the value you're bringing, the idea you have, and having your pitch is really important. I think being able, compression is one of the most valuable skill sets ever. And if you're having problem with it, and this sounds kind of funny, please talk to a professional. There's many times that I've sat down with small business owners or whatever, working on the brand. And as I said, the brand is everything. It's how it looks and it's how that's activated. Where I say, okay, what do you do? This. Okay. And how do you do that? This. Okay. And then what else? With this? Yes. And then what's the result? That? Okay. You pitched it this, when really you're a business that does this through that with the result that's doing this for the industry. It's like, whoa. So that's the kind of thing, like, do you get professional? If you're in a point where you're not too sure, and you don't just have to reach out to someone to build a website, make a video, do your design, get your logo. There are people out there that, not to pitch you, Mervyn, but there are people out there who understand, that can tell you, and these people are honest business owners that maybe they're the one you go to when you want that $10,000 video, but they're people that are going to tell you when you're ready for it, because they want your return business. They want you to succeed. So if you're at the point where you're leaving the bedroom and you're going to your living room office on that long journey, when you finally get to the living room, it's having those things buttoned up where you can pitch, where you can talk, when you can communicate, where eventually it's only going to get better as you connect to your customers or your clients. So don't be afraid. I think especially now, people seem to be very willing to help. I think there's a lot of people out there who do pro bono work or free consultation for like a lunch meeting or something like that, virtual lunch meeting. I've done a bunch of those, and it's obviously you have to be respectful for them too, because you don't want to give, they have years of expertise they're giving to you. But also there are people out there that are willing to say, you're not quite there, kid. Maybe do this, or this, and then come back to me in 3 months.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, Bill, we're going to take another break. And then when we come back, we're going to do our closing remarks. We have about 5 more minutes to go. So again, I want to thank our sponsors, TaskBuddies Limited. And I want to say, if you're looking for assistance in getting clarity on your vision and your direction and strategy for your business, Coaching with Melanie is our company that I want to recommend, and she's worked with us as a company personally, and so I just want to say that as well. And she's a sponsor of our show as well. So Coaching with Melanie, we want to thank the Art Shack, Formosa Cafe, TNC, and Budram Solutions. Right. So we're going to be back shortly after these messages.
Hey.
And welcome back to Creative Monday Discussion. I am Mervin Budram, and we've been talking for the last hour with Bill. We're just talking about business growth strategies, business development strategies. Bill, it's been an awesome discussion. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Any final closing thoughts as we're getting ready to wrap up the show?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me. It's great that I can see you virtually. I miss Belize. I can't wait to travel again.
I miss Boston, man.
You can come here, when it's safe,
Yeah.
cool off a bit, and I need to go get hot. But no, I want to say that, I think now more than ever, there are no maps for these territories.
Yeah.
There's no true north. And I think being flexible is really important. I think, I think the business community and entrepreneurship, whatever community that your business lives and does work in, they're there. I think people look forward to being connected to you, and I think it's really important that you lean on that. And we're halfway through this, maybe. Unfortunately, not the show, but these uncertain times. So I think it's really important to be flexible and then to stay connected to your community and remember why you're doing what you're doing and hold on to those values and communicate those.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. I want to thank our audience, those who tuned in. Thank you for being with us here every Monday. And as I said earlier, this month is about business. So next week we'll have another topic, business-related topic. So I encourage some friends, encourage some entrepreneurs to hop on and get some tips and tools. If you missed any past episode, you can always go to www.mervinbudram.com where you can watch past episodes. So again, I want to say thank you from our team here at Creative Monday Discussion. I want to say God bless you and have a great evening. Take care.